Welcome to the Hive, everybody. Today we have a fun show, a childhood show about motorcycles. They are fun no matter what kind of bike you ride, right? They're fun to ride those motorcycles. And if you're new to the channel, please join our family of subscribers as we have some cool videos, some motorcycle videos, some shows daily that you probably won't want to miss. And I'm sure they're going to have some benefit for you. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And today we're going to talk about my genesis into motorcycles, the world of motorcycles. And some people, they actually influence our life, which is really great because we all have mentors. We all have people we look up to in life, right? And we all have people who have inspired us. But first, we have to go back to the genesis of my birthplace, which is the amazing city of Orange, California. It has changed so much through the years.
The city of Orange is actually in the heart of Orange County. They named the county of Orange, California after the city of Orange. And why did they name it Orange? Because there was a lot of oranges and a lot of orange groves. They had the Sunkist packing plant for the oranges over in Villa Park, California. We took a tour through there and it's no longer there. It's a bunch of houses. Everything is gone now. All the orange grows and it's all houses. Orange is no longer orange, it's houses.
Yeah, why don't they rename the city of Orange the county of Orange, called Houses of the County or something? It's no longer oranges. They're gone. When I was a little kid, we used to go to the orange groves and we used to have fights, with the oranges, throwing like baseballs. And it was a good time. There was orange groves everywhere. Now there's houses everywhere. It's a different place than before. And, as a little kid growing up in that area, it was a nice place. And I enjoyed it so much and just loved that place. And one day, this childhood classmate, he asked me if I wanted to go to some motorcycle races. And I had no idea. I was actually into baseball and playing football and stuff like that. I really didn't know what motorcycle riding was all about until the day I was introduced to the Costa Mesa Speedway.
Like in elementary school, I was in class one day and there was this student next to me. His name was Mike DeMont. And Mike said, "Hey Brian, do you want to go to the Speedway motorcycle races tonight?" And I said, "What? What are you talking about?" And he said, "My sister works in the concession stand. She sells like beer or popcorn or something. And she can get 2 people in and I'm one of them. And do you want to go with me? With my sister. She'll..." My sister works in the concession stand. She sells like beer or popcorn or something. And she can get 2 people in and I'm one of them. And do you want to go with me? With my sister. She'll drive. And I said, "Yeah, why not? Why not?" So I went to his house early, like 4 o'clock or whatever it was. And then we got to the races at like 5 or 6 or 5. And then we stayed around and I watched my first professional motorcycle race at the Costa Mesa Fairgrounds back in the day. And it was just like, wow, I was totally hooked. When I went home, all I could think of is this racing and the speedway and everything. And I'm thinking, I'm so excited to go back next week. And so the next week was coming around and I went. And I'm thinking, I'm so excited to go back next week. And so the next week was coming around and I went up to Mike in my class at La Vida Elementary School and I said, "Hey Mike, I want to go to that speedway race again Friday night. Can we go tonight or tomorrow night? And Mike said, no, can't go. I said, why? He said, my sister said no more. You can't ever go to a speedway race again. She doesn't want you to go, and you know, she got in trouble or something. And I said, huh, what? And I said, oh, I gotta go. So that was the start of it. Someone told me, no, you cannot go to a speedway race. And I said, you want to make a bet? I will go. I will go. So I realized that I couldn't get a ride to Speedway, and he told me I would never go to Speedway again, like with his sister, and I thought, I gotta go. So I just figured out a way to go. Like, I'm asking my mom, like, hey mom, can I go to Costa Mesa? And I think a couple times she actually dropped me off when I was just a little kid, and I had no way to get home. I'm like stuck at the races, but I just had so much fun, it didn't matter. So I was like asking people next to me, like, hey, can I have a ride home? I live in Orange, and like, are you going that way? And they say, no, I live in like Laguna Beach. And I go, oh gosh. So a couple times I had to like go out in the street on the way home and like hitchhike as a little boy. Like, I need to go home. I'm at Costa Mesa Fairgrounds. I gotta go home. And people were like, where are you going? And I said, Orange. Can you drop me off at like Chapman Avenue, like east? And they said, yeah, I'll give you a ride. So I get rides home. So I used to get hitchhiking to go home from Speedway. My family didn't really want to pick me up or didn't have time. They're sleeping, I think. It was late, like 10 o'clock. So I was always going there. I said, just give me a ride, Mom, and I will find a way home. I didn't care. And my mom's like, okay. And so I used to go, and then I just loved the races like every night. It was so cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. And you will never go to a speedway race again for the rest of your life. Never. You will not do a speedway show. You will not do anything. You will not collect $200. You will not pass go. You'll go to jail. You'll go directly to jail, as they say in Monopoly. No, that's not right. That did not happen. And I just fell in love with the speedway races. I mean, every Friday night I was like trying to find a ride home. I loved the races, but about halftime, it was getting a little nervous. Like, I need a ride home, you know? It sucked, but it was fun, and I had a great time. And every day after school, I was a little kid. I used to go to this shop on East Chapman, I guess it was West Chapman Avenue, called Lamar Yamaha. It's no longer there, like 100 years ago. And I used to go sitting on those motorcycles, the 125s, the 250s, the 400s. I could barely get on a 400. I was a little guy. And I'm sure that most of you have done that if you're into motorcycles and you're like little rugrat age like me. And we just dreaming of being on a motorcycle. And the salesman on the motorcycle shop was like, oh no, we got Brian again. He's on the motorcycle with his dirty hands, twisting the throttle, you know. It was fun. And, you know, those guys, they never really kicked me out of the shop. So that was really great. And I kept bugging my mom all the time, like, Mom, I got to have a motorcycle. I just fell in love with motorcycle. I was dreaming. And my mom's like, you will never have a motorcycle, Brian. I will never go to Speedway, Brian. I was like, I will go. I want a motorcycle. So I was bugging my mom like crazy. And then one year, something really crazy happened. Santa Claus came. And he brought me a present. That was really cool.
We're here in the beautiful island of Boracay.
That's my way. Every single day.
We're in the quarantine time right now. And I'm in the pool. I like that one. There's nobody here. It's like a private pool, so it's really nice. But today I want to talk about my first Christmas with a motorcycle. When I was younger, I always loved motorcycles. I mean, my bedroom was like plastered full of like motorcycle pictures. It was crazy. I used to sleep there and like dream of it. My parents were really great people. I had the best mom and dad there was. But they didn't like motorcycles very much. Not everybody likes motorcycles. And when I told them I want a motorcycle, they were like, yeah, just go away, you know, think about going to college or something. And I said, no, I want a motorcycle. And they're like, So many years of asking them, it was like several years, they had no interest in motorcycles. And then they realized, you know, Brian's really serious about this. Like, he really loves motorcycles. So I think we're going to like get him a motorcycle. So one Christmas when I was young, Santa came and brought me a motorcycle. I was so excited. I was over on James Street in Orange at my sister's house, and it was a rainy day. It was a very rainy Christmas day, and I was just like a young boy, like 10 or 11, and I just like got on the motorcycle, and I never really rode a clutch, and I just started learning how to ride the clutch on that rainy day. It was a cul-de-sac on James Street, and then I was riding up and down the cul-de-sac, up and down the cul-de-sac. The rain was coming hard. I didn't care. I was on a motorcycle on Christmas Day as a young boy, and I never like got off that bike. I just rode. I rode that bike. It was great. Just and I think I must have rode that thing like 12 hours, like non-stop. I think my parents were like, that's a good Christmas present. He likes that present. I love that present.
I like that present. I love that present. In fact, I enjoyed it so much. It was just the greatest present. I think if Santa could bring me anything, it was a motorcycle. It wasn't a speedway bike, but it was a mini enduro, a Yamaha mini enduro 60. That was a big bike. I outgrew it in like 3 seconds though, but I liked it so much. I actually slept with my motorcycle. It was great.
It was a Yamaha 60 mini enduro, yellow and black. Yellow and black. Bumblebee color. That's my color. My first bike was a Bumblebee, so go figure. I don't know. I'll tell you how I got that name Bumblebee later, but right now that mini enduro was so fabulous. It was so beautiful. It was brand new, straight from Robert M. Law Motorcycles in Anaheim, California. Yeah, it was so fantastic. And I just rode that thing every day. And I just practice and practice every day when I got home from school. All I could think about is riding that motorcycle everywhere. Just ride. And I used to ride down the railroad tracks. My mom must have thought I was crazy because every night when I came home from school, actually in the daytime and then at nighttime, I would bring my motorcycle in my bedroom and shut the door. And my mom, she said, what are you doing with that motorcycle, my Yamaha mini enduro, in my bedroom? And I'd say, Mom, I'm sleeping with my motorcycle. Say, Mom, I'm sleeping with my motorcycle. And every night I slept with my motorcycle. I would smell the oil and the gasoline. I think I had brain damage or something from that. but it was really beautiful. I smelled the mud and the dirt, and I didn't smell the gasoline really, but it was so beautiful. And I put it like a piece of like wood underneath the motorcycle so the oil and stuff would drip on that, because we had carpet in my bedroom. And my mom was like, that guy is just totally crazy. He's sleeping with his motorcycle. I was just a young boy, and I just loved it. It was just so fantastic. All my motorcycle pictures in my bedroom and my motorcycle. I would wake up and what would I see? My motorcycle. I go to bed, what did I see? My motorcycle.
I like that one. I don't sleep with my motorcycle these days. There's other better things to sleep with than a motorcycle, but it was a lot of fun as a child. And actually, if you ride a motorcycle, you're going to eventually like just want to do something with it. Like riding is really great, but actually, eventually you want to race that bike, right? And I started thinking, God, I got to race that motorcycle, because it was fun riding a motorcycle, but after a while you're like, I'm ready to race. So we went ahead and we started racing. The next evolution to riding a motorcycle is what? Getting on the racetrack.
I heard of these motorcycle races over in Saddleback Park. I lived in Orange, and Saddleback Park was in the mountains of Orange, so it wasn't that far. And I kept asking my mom, I want to go racing the motorcycle. And she's like, oh, Brian, shut up, you know.
Sometimes I can embrace
That crazy guy. I said, no, just to take me one time, you know, let me check it out. And she finally said, okay. I think I bugged her like 1,000 times. I think she said, you mow the yard and then keep mowing the yard and then I'll think about it. And then I kept mowing the yard, and then she said, okay, I will do it. Yes, I will do it. And I'd see all these motorcycle racers like Kelly Moran, Randy Mamola, Jeff Ward, all these famous motorcycle racers, the Moran brothers. I will do it. Yes, I will do it. So she took me to Saddleback Park and paid my admission for the races. And I had my first motorcycle race as a young boy, and I was scared. I was really scared. I was like just practically wearing my school clothes racing, and they had the leathers and the beautiful machines and everything, factory, and I'm just this like guy with a stock motorcycle racing. It's kind of embarrassing, but I didn't care. I was racing. I was racing. And I remember my first race. I raced, and the first turn I was so scared I like fall down and I'm like wipe out. You know, I was going kind of fast. And I'm like, I get up and I finish the race in dead last place, and I'm like, you'll never do that again. Never just go into the turn and fall. And so I never did. I went ahead and learned my lesson. I said, and then I just kept getting a little better. I was able to get a little bit faster speed with that. And then I think won one or two races or got second place. I don't remember. But I was racing these guys and they were really good. And I was able to start developing my talent. Even though my bike sucked, I was able to ride and get a little better. I was able to start developing my talent. Even though my bike sucked, I was able to ride and get a little better and a little better. Practice, practice, practice on a motorcycle. You can dream all you want, but unless you practice, you're not going to get good. So that's how I started in my mini bike days.
I like that trophy. It's just right above me here. It's a nice trophy. And you know, when you're racing and you see Kelly and Sean Moran in that beautiful green and white, a clovered uniform, all leathers, and the beautiful helmets painted, and all these guys wearing these beautiful attire, and it just was intimidating, you know, but it didn't matter because being on a racetrack was all that mattered. You know, it was fun. It was a good time. And just as long as you're out there doing it, you know, that's the main thing. It really doesn't matter what clothes you wear. What matters is you're having fun on a motorcycle. And as a mini speedway or mini motocross rider, not speedway, I never raced mini speedway. I rode the mini motorcycles, and it was a lot of fun. And one day I was in Orange, and this guy recruited me to be in a parade. I was on that parade. I was always doing wheelies on my motorcycle because I love wheelies. I'm not the best wheelie king, to be honest with you, but I sure have a lot of fun.
When I was young, I rode my Yamaha Mini Enduro all over the place. Some guy asked me, would you like to be in the parade? We're doing a parade in downtown Orange this Saturday, and we want you to ride your motorcycle. The parade went all the way around Orange and the circle and everything, and I said, sure, I'll do that. And so I asked one of my friends named Jay Darcy, rest in peace, Jay. And Jay and I, we went ahead and rode our motorcycles in that parade. We decorated our bikes up really cool, and we went ahead and rode. And it was really boring. I said to Jay, this is no fun. Let's do some wheelies, man. This is terrible. So Jay's like, okay. So we went ahead and did wheelies. We wheelied the whole parade. It was boring with no wheelies. And all the people were watching us like, oh, look at those little kids. They're doing...
Yeah, look at those little kids. They're doing wheelies on that little mini Enduro. It was fun. I told the guy, hey, invite us back every year. And he's like, no, you're too wild. We're never inviting you back to the parade. So I never got invited back to that parade. It sucked. You know, it was so much fun being in a parade, waving to everyone. Like, hey. When I'm on a speedway track, a motorcycle track, I don't like to wave to nobody. I like to race. But when I'm in a parade, it's like different. It's like, hey, hi. Riding that wheelie, it was a good time. But I was kind of like, you know, I wasn't a perfect student when I was in elementary school, to be honest with you. Most speedway riders get in a little trouble. And I actually got in a little trouble when I was just a little kid.
One of my cool memories as a child in elementary school, in La Vida Elementary School. Do you know that one? I do. La Vida. And it was the beginning of the school year, and I was just fresh in this class and all these new students. And this one student, he looked at me really bad, and I said, just turn around. Like, quit looking at me nasty. And he said, no, make me. And I said, no, just turn around, because I don't like to pick fights. You know, I just like to be cool. And he kept like hassling me and giving me bad looks. And then I said, what's the problem? And he said, you're the problem. I don't like you. And I said, what did I do? What did I do to you? And he goes, I don't know, but I don't like your face. And I said, well, I like my face. And he said, like, I want to fight you. And I said, what? He said, I want to fight you after school. And I said, where? And he says, out in the field. We go out in the field way far in the fence so no one can stop us. And I'm going to beat you off. And I said, okay, let's go. I was kind of pissed off at that time. So all the kids were talking about this fight. And the school got out, and we went out to really far near the fence over by the back of La Vida School. and there's like 100 kids, and they're like, fight, fight. And Dave and I were there, and I said, okay, I guess we're supposed to fight, right? And we're swinging wildly, we're like not hitting each other hardly. And then the principal come running out from the office. I guess he heard about it. And I looked at Dave and I said, what are we gonna do? And Dave says, come to my house and I'll give you some food. And I said, okay, Dave. So I went over to Dave's house near that area, and that was the beginning of my best friendship with Dave Black. We fight, and then after the fight, he said, let's go have some food. And we went ahead and had a nice friendship after that. But we started out with a fight and ended up as best friends. Go figure.
Yeah, we started out with a fight and we were best friends. And, you know, it was cool. And I really don't like to fight that much, really. But if somebody's going to, like, push me in a corner, I guess we have no choice, right? But actually what happened was in junior high, just a couple years later, I went to a motorcycle race at the OCIR, the Orange County International Raceway. They're closed right now. I don't think they're open. There's probably houses or something there. And there was actually, it was like a scramble race. And I was sitting there watching a motorcycle race. I love the motorcycle races. I mean, any motorcycle race I would go to watch. And there was a racer named Paul Belisle. He was actually in that TT race. And he actually went to my school. I'm like, I know that name. Yeah, he goes to my school. It was like a junior high school at the time, a couple of years later. And I was like watching this guy. I was like, hey, I know this guy. And I'm watching him. He did all right. You know, he wasn't the best. He wasn't the worst. He finished in the middle of the pack. But it didn't matter to me because, you know, this guy was cool. Like, he was actually a racer. And he was 1 year older than me. And he was racing out there at the OCIR. And I thought that was really neat. And his parents owned this Belisle's restaurant over in Garden Grove near Anaheim, near Disneyland. They're no longer in business, but his family owned that thing for like years, like, I don't know, 40 years, maybe more, who knows. It was a long time, and it was just cool. And I went up to Paul and I started meeting him the next day in school and started to kind of get to know him a little bit better. And his family actually has this restaurant called Belisle's, and it's no longer in business now, but it was Belisle's, and all the famous celebrities went there. It was really a great place.
And in 1950s, Paul's dad, Harvey, he started Belisle's restaurant. Do you know that one? Do you know that one? Belisle's restaurant. It was operating for like 25 years, and it was near Disneyland, and it opened about the same time as Disneyland. And many famous celebrities went to Belisle's restaurant. I never have been there, but I saw it lots of times. And Tom and Roseanne Arnold, the famous couple of Hollywood, used to always go there, and I used to read about it. And Roseanne would say, I like Belisle's restaurant. It's the bomb. It's the best restaurant in town. So lots of people went to Belisle's, and his family worked really hard to make that business a success.
And it was a success, no doubt about it. The Belisle's restaurant was really cool. And actually, I got to meet Paul, and, you know, we hung out, and I actually did a blog on that because he actually inspired me to be a motorcycle racer and a speedway racer. And we're going to go ahead and start part one. I did this blog, actually 3 parts, and they have this thing. He actually passed away a few years ago. Rest in peace, Paul. And he was really a big inspiration in my life. And I did this posting in the El Medina, memories of the people who passed away. And the people said, oh, you really like him a lot. You made 3 videos of this guy. And I did. You know, I never got a chance to say thank you and goodbye. So I felt really sad about his passing. And he has a beautiful wife, Eileen. And, you know, I just feel so sad for him. So I actually made these 3 blogs in memory of my good friend and my inspiration for Speedway and everything, Paul Belisle.
Welcome back, and if you could subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And today we have a very special vlog, part 3, the ending of the Paul Belisle story. Rest in peace.
I think I played the wrong video. It should be part 3. It should be part 1, right? Oh my gosh. And I don't know. I guess I got part 3 again. I'm so sorry. But we're going to go ahead and play part 2. So I'm bad. I'm bad.
Welcome back to my channel, and we have Bebop here. Say hi, Bebop. Come on. Yesterday we had the Paul Belisle blog, the childhood days of Paul Belisle. And today we're going to talk about something a little bit different, but including Paul also, as he inspired me to race motorcycles. After our experience with getting stuck in Saddleback Park, I decided I would have to work and earn some money to save for another motorcycle. I worked as a paperboy for the Orange County Register. Do you know that paper, the Register? It's a good paper in Orange and all over Orange County. And I was a delivery paperboy 7 days a week. I worked for like a year or two, saving my money, all my money. I think I would spend like 25 cents a day buying a donut, but other than that, I would save all my money. And by the end of a couple years, I had about $1,000 saved. One day I was walking home from school from Elmo, and a green truck drove by me, and it was Paul Belisle in his brand new Jeep pickup truck. And in the back of his pickup truck was a brand new Jawa Speedway bike. A brand new Jawa Speedway bike. And my heart just melted. And I looked at the bike, looked at Paul's pickup truck, and I just like melted. I've got to have one of those. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, Paul Belisle's got a Speedway bike and I don't have a Speedway bike. Paul totally inspired me to get a Speedway bike, but I was like wondering, where am I gonna get a Speedway bike? I only have like $1,000 saved from the paper route. I was thinking, so I went ahead and opened the want ads in the Orange County Register and looked into the motorcycle department to see what I could find. And there was a lot of enduros in the paper, of course. And then finally I saw a Speedway bike for sale. And I was like, oh my gosh, and it was only $700. So I called the guy, and it was Danny Berserko Becker. Danny Berserko Becker. And Danny was selling this bike. It was a motorcycle that he had got for free from one of his sponsors, and he didn't want it no more. It's a JAP with a 22-inch tire. Really crazy setup, but I didn't care. It was a Speedway bike, and I bought it, and it was my new Speedway bike. I bought that Speedway bike from Danny and loaded it up in the back of my mom's Pinto station wagon. I would bring the bike up into the station wagon, cross the handlebars up, and then throw it in the back of the carpet and roll it to the front. The handlebars were in my head as I was driving home. I was like, I have a new Speedway bike and I don't care. I'd take the bike out and I would see how it run in the street, and it had a straight pipe. There was no mufflers back in those days, and they were really loud, and my neighbors just hated me when I started my Speedway bike. I would like burn out in the street and take off, and the people would like call the police on me. And then I practiced my wheelies on that thing, and it was really scary. It was like riding a rocket ship. The thing was just like crazy. I was just a 16-year-old kid at the time. And it was towards the end of the Speedway season. And I was thinking, I need to ride this thing on a Speedway track. I was a little nervous, but And I asked my friend, Paul, exactly where can I practice on this speedway bike? I have a bike like you now. Now we're even. Paul told me that, remember when you watched me race at the OCIR? Paul said, that's where you go practice every like Wednesday night or something. So I went ahead and went there on Wednesday night, and the speedway track was open. I remember seeing Steve Colombo. Do you remember that guy, Steve Colombo? He was always practicing there. And I just started like my first time on a speedway bike. I didn't know what I was doing. I got on the bike and I went around and I said, I'm on a speedway bike now. And I was very nervous, and I went to my first turn and I gassed it into my turn, and I said, you must fall down now, Brian. And I fell down my first turn, and I wasn't hurt. I picked myself up and I said, okay, now you fall no more. You've got it out of your blood, and now we're gonna start riding. After just one practice or so, I felt I was a top pro. I was a top pro at racing speedway. And I called the SRA, the Speedway Racing Association. And I asked them, I want a speedway license. What do I need? And I needed a physical. So I got the papers for the physical and went to the doctor. And they said, you need to take a rider's test. And I said, where do I take a rider's test? And they said, at the OCIR, the place where I was practicing. And one night, John Snyder, he went ahead and he came out and he gave me the riding test. And I guess I did okay for a D3 rider. It wasn't very good. And then he said, okay, now you must crash, you must fall. And then we must judge you to see if you can crash good enough. I went in the turn and I did a beautiful lay down and I didn't get hurt. And he said, congratulations, Brian. You're a professional speedway rider now. You're a professional speedway rider now. And I'm like, ooh. Now, I had a bike and Paul had a bike. We both had two bikes, one each. And now we could race each other. And Paul and I raced many times against each other at Costa Mesa and other tracks. Also, we raced a lot at the Santa Ana Bowl, the quarter-mile track around Santa Ana. I remember one time I was coming late from the pits and Paul was there and a few other riders, and Paul was saying to the guy next to him, we got to race against Brian, and all the riders were saying, oh, I got to race that guy. And it was really cool because when you're a rider, you want people to be scared of you. You know, you want people not to want to race you. And I was a D1 rider at the time. And the race started, I was at the 40 or 50 yard line. And I just like blew those guys away, like everyone away in the first or second lap. And I just knew that if people show me they're scared, that's it. It's over. Like, I'm going to beat them. And Paul was just a really great sport. He was just a great guy, a good sportsman. He was a happy-go-lucky guy, and I was a fiery competitor. I hated to lose. And Paul just was a happy-go-lucky guy, like I said, and he just was enjoying himself a lot. Well, that's it. Thank you for watching the show today about Speedway and about how Paul Belisle inspired me to get my first Speedway bike. I wanted that bike. He had a bike and I wanted it. I think it's called childhood jealousy. But whatever it is, I'm grateful for Paul. And I never got to thank him for that. So thank you, Paul, in heaven, for inspiring me to be a Speedway motorcycle rider. So thank you so much for watching the show today. We appreciate you sharing this video, also subscribing to my channel. It really means a lot. So thank you so much. So please like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell.
Paul was such a great guy. I mean, he was a cool dude. And I thought I had the video of us in the childhood days, and I'm going to play this video. Maybe I got mistaken, and maybe I haven't. But he was just a great guy, great friend, just a cool dude. I kind of like, I had a little fire burning underneath me. When I got on the speedway track, I didn't want to be nice that much. I wanted to win. I wanted to race. And Paul was just happy guy. And I was kind of different when I was racing, to be honest with you. And I hate to lose, and I'm out there to win. And you know, it wasn't really like fun and games for me. It was like serious business, because that was my attitude, and that's just the way I was at the time. And I admire Paul for being so loosey goosey. And Paul was just a cool dude, and I always respect him. And I got really, like I say, into my racing quite heavily, and Paul was just having fun. And I kind of wish I was having a little more fun like him, because it was great. And, you know, it was just a tough time to race hard and to always expect so much out of yourself. And sometimes when we're racers, we wish we had a little bit more of that calm attitude, you know, that relaxing attitude. And my mom, you know, she really hated my speedway, to be honest with you. And she just really didn't like anything that I did with the racing. So it was kind of difficult to have family not supporting me. I see a lot of families now in speedway, you know, they're supporting their kids. They're behind their kids. They're proud of their kids. But when I was racing, my mom was hiding from the speedway. She hated it. And that was kind of sad for me, really. I think she was going to have a heart attack because she didn't want her son to get hurt.
My mom, rest in peace, she just hated me riding the motorcycles. I love the mom I had, and I wouldn't trade her for the world. When I race motorcycles, sometimes I would crash. When you ride, you're going to crash. My mom would always say, like, I had told you not to ride those motorcycles. And I'm like, Mom, would you like be quiet? I'm like injured right now. My mom just hated to see me ride. I think she saw me race like twice. Once was at Costa Mesa, and once was at the Santa Ana Bowl. I blogged that where I said, I'm gonna win for my mom, and I won 6 straight races. I won the handicap and scratch main at Santa Ana Bowl for my mom, and she hated it. She said, that's the last time I'm ever gonna watch you race. I hate this. And I'm like, Mom, I won every race. And she said, I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah, she didn't have a heart attack, and she never came back and watched the race. But Paul, like I say, was just a big inspiration in my life, and he was just really an important part of my speedway development.
Appreciate Paul for all the stuff that he did, and we're gonna start the blog right now. He was born June 5th, 1957 to Harvey and Charlotte Belisle. Paul had a great childhood days, and he just was a happy-go-lucky guy. And in 1950s, Paul's dad, Harvey, he started Belisle's restaurant. Do you know that one? Do you know that one? Belisle's restaurant. It was operating for like 25 years. And it was near Disneyland, and it opened about the same time as Disneyland. and many famous celebrities went to Belisle's restaurant. I never have been there, but I saw it lots of times. And Tom and Roseanne Arnold, the famous couple of Hollywood, used to always go there, and I used to read about it. Roseanne would say, I like Belisle's restaurant. It's the bomb. It's the best restaurant in town. So lots of people went to Belisle's, and his family worked really hard to make that business a success. Paul lived on a little cul-de-sac. It was only about 4 homes long, and it was a big circle cul-de-sac in Orange off of Prospect Avenue. It was one of those beautiful big Meredith homes, and Paul had a beautiful swimming pool. We talked about jumping off the roof with the bicycles into the water. So Paul just had a great place. He had a great home, and they lived there for like 25 years. I think it was 1981 they ended up moving, and also Belisle's restaurant ended up closing around that time also. But it was bought by the city of Garden Grove. They bought it. Paul had a great childhood, and he was a motorcycle rider. We talked about that in the first couple of blogs. Paul just loved motorcycles, and he was a big inspiration to me also. After Paul's speedway days, Paul met and married the love of his life, Eileen. They were married September 18th, 1982, and they were married for a long time. Today would be their 38 years anniversary, their wedding anniversary today. Happy anniversary, Paul and Eileen Belisle. I'm sure Paul is thinking about the love of his life today and wishing her a happy anniversary. After Speedway, Paul fell in love with horses. He was doing all kinds of horse things. He was showing very expensive horses for his family. He was doing rodeo riding. He was even riding the bull. Paul went from racing speedway to riding the bulls, crashing on both sports, by the way. He also did some active charity work. Paul was a volunteer firefighter for the city of Temecula for like 5 years. Paul was helping with the fires. He was also a very gifted oil painter. He did a lot of painting for his bicycle helmets. He was a mountain bike rider, and he painted all those helmets. He also designed the logo for the ranch. For his ranch, he designed the logo. Paul also liked tattoos. He had many of them. And before his passing, he was designing his tattoo with Greg James. He only went to Greg James because he thought Greg James was the best tattoo artist in Southern California. Well, that's it, the Paul Belisle blog. We sure love and miss Paul. He touched so many lives in so many ways. And more than anything else, Paul was a really great guy. Thank you so much for watching the 3-part series of Paul Belisle. He was just an amazing guy, like I mentioned, and we want to honor his life. Thank you so much for watching the Paul Belisle vlog. The 3-part series. I hope you enjoyed them. Got a lot of response, really good. And Paul is just an amazing guy. That's why people like him, because Paul is good. So thank you once again for liking the video and also subscribing to my channel. It means so much, and we want to invite you to be part of our family. So thank you again. Please like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. Rest in peace, Paul. We'll see you on the other side. God bless.
Yeah, we love that guy. He's just a cool dude, and we didn't get to say goodbye. And I talked to lots of famous people in the motorsports world, and when I had Bruce Penhall on the show, I said, did you ever know the name Paul Belisle? And he said, yeah, I know that guy. So, I mean, Paul pretty much knew everybody, who's who in the speedway world. And, of course, his parents had that famous restaurant, Belisle's. And, Paul and I, we hung out as little children. And, we rode bicycle speedway together. We were power sliding in his little cul-de-sac in the circle. And then we had speedway races on bicycles, and we were little whippersnappers, little kids. And then I actually was talking to Sumner McKnight, the old speedway rider, the very good speedway rider, Sumner McKnight. And I told him just yesterday, I said, Sumner, do you remember when Paul Belisle and we were racing the little bicycle speedway bikes at the El Medina track? And I think you were dating Paul Belisle's older sister. And he said, yeah, you have a good memory, Brian. So I wanted to make sure it was a true story, because I thought it was Sumner McKnight who came and watched us ride bicycle speedway. And I won every race for Sumner McKnight, because he was one of my early day heroes, and he was just a really great rider. And when I knew that Sumner McKnight was going to come watch us ride and race speedway bicycles, I'm like, I'm going to win for Sumner. And I went ahead and did. And I was really happy and stuff. And Paul Belisle was definitely like a cool guy, and he helped me get into speedway. So, and I never got to say goodbye. So I guess doing the blogs was a way to say goodbye to Paul.
Welcome back, and if you could subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And today we have a very special vlog, part 3, the ending of the Paul Belisle story. Rest in peace.
I think we already did that one. Actually, I was missing the part 1, and I apologize. I thought I loaded part 1, and part 3 got loaded. So I totally bummed out on that one. But in the part 1, I talked about the story about when I got lost in Saddleback. I was riding Paul's CZ 125, and in Saddleback, they have the back road. If you've ever been to Saddleback, you can actually climb up Mount Wilson at Saddleback, and then you ride that little fire road all the way to the Matterhorn, if you remember going to Saddleback back in the day. And then when you get to the end, there was the Matterhorn, and then there was a big drop down the hill. And I rode Paul Belisle's 125. I never rode a big bike like that before, and he let me ride it. And he was at camp, and he was with my little mini enduro, and I was riding a 125. That was pretty cool. My first time on a big bike. And I rode all the way up to the Matterhorn on Paul's 125. He had a CZ, and those were cool back in the day. I mean, if you had a CZ 125, you were cool, and Paul was cool. And he had that CZ 125. He let me ride that CZ, and I never been on a big bike before, like I said. And so I get to the top over by the Matterhorn at Saddleback, and then the CZ went, whoa, and it died. And I'm like giving it gas. And so I'm trying to start this bike, right? It's a big bike for a little like 12-year-old. And the bike won't start. And then if you've ever been to Saddleback, where the Matterhorn was, actually, it's kind of like you're in a valley area, because if you go back to camp, there's a big hill. And then if you go down the hill, there's a big hill. So I said, oh, I think you can push start these motorcycles. So I went ahead and decided I would go down the hill rather than up the hill walking, because the bike was heavy. I couldn't push the bike because I was a little kid. So I get on the CZ 125, Paul's bike, and then I go down this pretty steep hill by the Matterhorn. It's the fire trail. And then I push start it, I pull the clutch in. I had it in like first or second gear. Then I pop the clutch, and I'm going down this very steep hill as a little kid, and the bike's going, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm like, come on, start. And I get to the very bottom of this hill. It's far, and the bike's dead, right? This CZ 125. Paul gave me the CZ 125. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Because, if you're down at the bottom where the Matterhorn is, it's really far, and that bike was heavy and big. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. I was like freaking out. So I decided, well, keep push starting the bike. And so I kept going down and down the Saddleback Park. And then what happened is that the bike never started. And I got to the very bottom of the park. And it was far from everybody. And I'm only like 12 years old at the time. And I'm like, OMG. So I'm there, and it's getting dark, right? I mean, it's getting dark. And I'm like freaking out. And I'm like, because I can't push this motorcycle because I'm a little boy. And I'm far from the Matterhorn, down deep into Saddleback Park. So it was not a good place to be for a 12-year-old. And with a broken motorcycle. So I was a little bit nervous at the time, thinking I'm going to be sleeping in Saddleback Park in the deep, dark area. I mean, it was like a little like canal area. I mean, there was nobody around. I was kind of scared a little bit. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, what am I going to do now? And then there's this like rattlesnake that comes by me, because it was in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a rattlesnake, poison rattlesnake. If you're not from America, the rattlesnakes will bite you and maybe kill you if you don't get medical help. And being so far in the jungle there in the Saddleback Park, I was gonna die if I got bit by that thing. So I was a little nervous when I saw the snake. And then it was getting dark at the time. And then actually I was worried about about having to spend the night there at Saddleback Park. And then it was actually darkness was there, and I'm like, oh no, because I knew I couldn't walk back out because I was miles into the Saddleback Park, and so I was worried quite a bit at the time. And then I saw a light at the distance flashing, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And then it was a Jeep, and I'm like, hey, over here, I have a broken bike. And it was a Saddleback search and rescue team. They came looking for me. Actually, I didn't know it at the time, but Paul was a search and rescue, like a supervisor, and he had my mini Enduro. And I think he went over to the rescue place and said, hey, my friend Brian, he's stuck like somewhere in Saddleback. You got to go rescue him. So we threw the CZ 125 on top of in back of the jeepney or whatever it was, the Jeep, the dune buggy, and then we drove all the way back to camp. And then Paul was like, where were you? Because Paul waited for hours and hours. And I was like, "You're CZ125. It didn't work." And I think the engine was bad, or maybe he forgot to put oil in it. I'm not sure. But that was just a crazy situation. And Paul was mad at me. And I said, "Hey, Paul, why are you mad at me? You're the one that gave me this crappy bike." And I talked to a guy recently, and he says, "I own Paul Belisle's CZ125. And that was cool. I hope he got that engine rebuilt or fixed the carburetor or something. But yeah, we just had a really good time. And we used to go jumping off the roof on his bicycles. We used to go there and have fun. He had this big mansion house in Orange, and it was a lot of fun. So we had good times, we had crazy times. And I missed that video, and I apologize so much for that. But it was just a good time. And all this stuff, leads up to racing speedway, actually. So it was really good. And, it was just a good times. And every little thing, moves to another level. I don't think I would maybe even ride motorcycles at speedway. I mean, I had my money, and I was thinking, should I buy a bike? And I was nervous about it. And then when I saw Paul Belisle have a speedway motorcycle in the back of his Jeep, I said, "That's it. I'm going to buy one." And the rest was history. We had a good time on that. I wasn't the best rider in the world, but I sure had a good time. And I like to win as much as possible. And it was just a good time. I think when I was an older rider, I had more fun, to be honest with you. When I was a younger rider, I was all serious. And, it was just business for me. But when I got older, I was serious too, but I had a good time. So it was nice. And, we just had a good time racing speedway and also learning to ride the mini bikes, the mini motorcycles. It was a good time. So thank you so much for hanging out with us in the Hive. We have a good show coming up this week. We have Lance King, the Speedway champion. He's going to be in the Hive in a couple days. You won't want to miss Lance King. He was a great rider, and he actually was on the podium, number 3 world finisher. I mean, the guy he was team captain of the Cradley Heath Heathens. Lance King was a heathen, and she's laughing, but he was a heathen. And then we're going to have Steve Luxon in Florida, I believe, on the show. He actually has one of the large memorabilia collections of the Speedway, and he has all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to go to Florida this week, and we're going to see lots of cool Speedway stuff, so you won't want to miss that. And soon we have Bobby Hunter, one of the greatest female Speedway riders ever on the show, American, and also we have Bruce the Fox Penhall. Bruce the Fox Penhall is going to be in the Hive. So we got him coming up here in another week or so for a show. So you're not going to want to miss it. And we're having a great time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, subscribing if you haven't subscribed to the channel. And we're going to produce a lot of really cool shows coming up. So thank you so much for, like I say, hanging out and enjoying the Hive. And we're going to go ahead and end the show. So please stay on 2 wheels, no crashes, always be safe. And we're going to see you next race.